In the history of guns, small arms as they are formally called, there have been an estimated grand total of 750 million produced throughout the world's history, of which a fifth of them have been Kalashnikov AK platforms at 150 million and 1/7 have been Mauser platforms at 100 million. Welcome to Random Military History. In World War II, the first automatic rifles such as the SVT-40, M1 Garand and Sturmgewehr 44 took part, demonstrating to the world firsthand of the superior lethality with rifles with high capacity and semi-automatic self-loading function compared to their bolt-action counterparts, inspiring a whole new era of rifle technology. In 1949, the Soviets came up with the Kalashnikov as mentioned before, but in 1953, NATO's answer was the FN-FAL, the right arm of the free world, as it was commonly nicknamed. Rapidly adopted in over 90 countries with its full/semi-automatic select fire mode, 20-round capacity and polymer handguards, it was one of the most capable rifles ever made, even to this day. And at the time of its introduction, the typically 5-round Mauser bolt-action rifles that it replaced in most nations made it arguably the biggest technological leap for a standard issue rifle in firearms history. Let's see it in action. The Rhodesian Bush War in Africa from 1964 to 1979 consisted of arguably the most lopsided level of combat training and competency in the history of warfare, with the Rhodesian defense forces that took part being significantly more well trained than the communist Sandler guerrillas. This resulted in several battles where the battle loss statistics were almost unreal. The best example of this was Operation Eland, where just 84 Rhodesian Special Forces units with FALs, 4 APCs, and 10 unarmored Unimogs tricked their way into the heart of a Sandler base of over 5,000 guerrilla fighters, successfully capturing the entire base by themselves with just 4 men wounded and 0 men killed, whilst managing to kill an astonishing 1,028 Sandler. In World War II, the P-51D Mustang air superiority fighter was the long-range escort aircraft for the US in the European theatre. It was armed with 50 cal machine guns, the same used by the ground troops, the M2 Browning, except slightly lighter. The 50 cals were an excellent choice as they had enough firepower to easily penetrate the back armoured plate behind the pilot's chair and ignite fuel tanks with a large incendiary round, unlike the 30 cals, but had far superior ammunition capacity than the 20mm, typically with over 300 rounds per gun versus the 20mm 120. The P-51D Mustang having 6 of these 50 cal machine guns meant it had an ammunition capacity of 1,840 rounds, which when laid out on the ground was 9 yards long, hence the saying, the whole 9 yards, derived from a pilot firing the whole 9 yards of ammunition in one long burst. Let's see it in action.
Swooping down on enemy transportation, railroads, marshalling yards, small suburban factories.
Since the dawn of melee weapons technology as far back as 500,000 BC, Homo sapiens have developed 2 major design classes of melee weapons, in which all melee weapons in history derive. Clubs, that are short broad sticks, and pole arms, that are long thin sticks. Now you might say that the difference between a short stick and a long stick is subjective, but there is an objective difference that separates the 2 designs and how they are used. Clubs are shorter than the user's outstretched arm to the ground, whilst pole arms are longer. This allows clubs to be underswung without hitting the ground, whilst pole arms will. This gives clubs more mobility and flexibility when swinging, which is their primary attack method, whilst polearms primarily thrust with their superior reach. Weapons like swords, maces, and axes are essentially more high-tech clubs, while spears, halberds, and pikes are more high-tech polearms.